I woke up that morning with a knot in my stomach. I had no idea why though. Something just felt inherently wrong. Was I feeling guilty from the day before? I rolled over and saw Sue, which calmed my nerves just a little bit. I must have woken up early considering she was still asleep. I took a look at my phone and noticed it was just before 7 in the morning. How disappointing. But that feeling wouldn't go away though, no matter how much I tossed and turned. It just felt like something bad was going to happen. And I wasn't any stronger than I was the day before. A thought then popped into my head. I got my phone out and I texted Mirio. Hey man, you awake? Yeah, absolutely. School or no school, nothing interrupts my morning workout. Okay, cool. I actually wanted to ask you something related to that. Go for it. Can we train together? I want to get stronger, and even without a quirk, you're probably my best bet. Sure, sounds really fun actually. When can we do it? Come to Momo's Manor. I've been doing a fair bit of training there recently. I'll be around in 10 minutes. I wasn't usually quite so cold to people. Normally, I'd have asked if there are any improvements to regaining his quirk, or if he was even just feeling alright. But on top of the stress I was already having, I had this strange pit in my stomach still, and it wasn't hunger. Sue woke up and we cuddled for a few minutes as I told her that Mirio was coming over. She was glad I told her, as she was always happy to say hi to Mirio since the overhaul incident. Do you ever just wake up with a really horrible sort of cramp in your stomach? I asked her. Only for about a week, once a month. That shouldn't happen to you, though, she replied, to which I rubbed my eyes. No, not that, I said, to which she giggled a little, since usually I was the one making people uncomfortable. Maybe I'm coming down with something. I wouldn't be surprised, Carol. With how stressful the past week has been, it's amazing how well you've coped. Some of the others have been breaking down and struggling to function properly. It's really sad. I hadn't even given that any thought. How were my friends doing? Especially my 1B friends. They saw 2 heroes die when they had a chance to stop them. I saw Paolo to die without having anything I could do. So, in a way, it's not as bad as what they experienced. They must have been feeling awful, and I hadn't paid any attention to them. I'll try to talk them a little bit to reassure them later. Right now, though, I gotta get up and get ready for Mirio. I kissed her as I got out of bed and got dressed, and she did too. When I reached into my pocket, I felt the tub that was still inside from the previous day. I took it out, which Sue immediately noticed. What's that, Carol? She asked, eyeing it curiously. Oh, I stopped by the UA ruins yesterday to collect what I could of the ashes. It hadn't occurred to me that the urn was still inside the building when it was destroyed. This is the last remaining part of my father, I answered. I opened the drawer beside my bed and put it inside, pushing the drawer back afterwards to make sure it didn't get damaged somehow. Thankfully, the urn wasn't too ornate to worry about losing. After we went downstairs and got outside, Mirio arrived a minute or two later. Sue greeted him and they spoke briefly, with her asking the question I failed to about his quirk being recovered. The answer was negative. He was still an incredible fighter though, so even without a quirk, he'd probably still be a good combatant to fight against. Sue waved us goodbye and went back inside to watch from a distance, interested in seeing how our fight would turn out. Mirio turned to me and said, Sue is a pretty nice girl. She seems to like you a lot from what she told me. I tilted my head. Really? When did she tell you about me? Before he answered, he thrust forward and slammed his palm into my chest unexpectedly, pushing me back. First, always be alert. Your enemy will likely try to distract you somehow. Don't let them, he said, before going in mercilessly for the kill. I teleported to the side and tried to grab his arm, but he knocked mine away with his other arm. He then regained his footing and swung a roundhouse kick at me at incredible speed, enough to catch my side and knock me to the right a little. Second, it was during our preparation for the overhaul raid. She mentioned you to Erica in passing, and I overheard it. I just made an assumption. I guess I was right. I didn't reply and focused solely on him. I lunged forward at him, to which he dodged confidently, only to have his confidence shaken when I teleported beside him and punched him in the stomach, the same way he did to me way back when. He grinned at me with one eye closed. You've gotten stronger since we last sparred. Your punch nearly hurt me. He was definitely fibbing. He was trying not to show that I had actually managed to get through. I went in for another punch, but he blocked it and retaliated. I blinked backwards and then forwards again to deal another series of blows, which he blocked. It was really difficult to even land a proper hit on him. Even if I could connect my fist to his skin, his muscle was too thick for me to be able to break through without my supersuit. Again, before I started my training, I was skin and bones. A stiff breeze could knock me down. I was by no means the strongest melee fighter, and it would take several years before I built up to his level. I pretty much used his arms as boxing bags for the next hour, with him giving me advice throughout the session. By the time we finished, several of my classmates had been watching. Jiro commented, "He's been doing a lot recently. Like, he's been putting up a fight against Mirio for an hour now. What's he trying so hard to accomplish?" Alex-chan told me he wanted to get stronger, so he's training with the strongest people he knows, I'm assuming, Sue observed. But what's he trying to get stronger for? He's gone several steps ahead of our training. It was only a month ago 20 of us fought him and lost. Now he's trying to beat Mirio by himself. Yaoyorozu then queried, "I believe he wants to get strong enough to defeat the Sinister Six. After Mr. Aizawa came to stay here, Alex said something to himself about beating them. We've all been under stress, but Alex has been under more than we can imagine. They killed his father, destroyed both of his homes, and injured several of his closest friends. I'm worried if we don't do something soon, he'll go after them alone." They all nodded as the mood lowered a little. Uraraka stared intently at me before deciding, "When he comes back, I'll try to talk to him. Thanks to you guys, I was able to stop blaming myself all the time for Midnight's death. I want to share some things with him that helped me. He's been very secluded recently, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it." "Does he even know what happened to Bakugo?" Midoriya asked. "I've been slowing down for the past 15 minutes, and Mirio 100% took advantage of that, smacking me to the floor several times before I eventually conceded. He helped me up and we shook hands. You really impressed me today. You fought for a full hour and kept me on my toes a few times. We should do this again tomorrow, and every morning until you make me surrender," he suggested. I smiled at him, happy to receive such praise from someone who could very well be a top 10 hero one day very soon. He told me he had other things to attend to, and took his leave. When I started to walk back to the mansion, I saw everyone watching from inside. I gathered quite a crowd. I really did tend to have that effect whenever I fought someone, huh? "Did you make any popcorn for the fight?" I asked, still in a good mood, and a little giddy from low blood sugar levels after doing hard exercise without eating. They didn't seem to share my joy, though, and all seemed a bit anxious. "Something wrong?" "Alex, can we talk?" Uraraka asked. "Sure, but I really need to eat, otherwise I'm going to pass out. We can chat while I'm eating, though, if it's something that can be talked about in that situation." She nodded, and I went to get myself some cereal and just blitzed it with sugar. I sat down, feeling a little self-conscious of eating breakfast at a massive dining table, and Uraraka came to sit opposite me. "I just wanted to see how you were doing, you know? With everything that's happened, we haven't even really had a chance to talk you through some things," she started. I stared blankly at her and swallowed before asking, "Like what? I'm totally fine." "Don't lie to yourself," she said, seemingly upset. "It's one thing us saying we're here for you if you want to talk, but I want to come to you and tell you that nothing that's happened recently has been your fault." Slightly more unconvincingly, I said, "Yeah, of course, I know that. Midnight took the hit for me when Cybergo shot at me. I blame myself every day for it, but my friends reassured me that it wasn't my fault. I still think about it though, so I know somewhat what it's like to be in your position. To feel you should have done more. I feel I could have saved Sir Night-Eye. I feel I could have saved Midnight. I may even have been able to properly stop the Six if I made them float or something. But you know what has helped me get through it? Talking with my closest friends. Please, please do the same. I don't want you to be hurting the same way I did." I sighed as I continued to eat as she spoke, and after she finished, I was pretty much done. "I'm honestly not sure what to say. Thank you for being so concerned for me. I'll talk if I need to, but right now I'm starting to feel good about myself. I can protect you all next time, I'm sure of it," I said to her in return. "Hey, I hate them too. Leave some glory for me, okay?" she said. At first I thought she was joking, so chuckled, but her expression said otherwise. I stretched and told her I was going to see if Monoma had any time to train with me, and I departed after saying goodbye. When I asked Monoma, he agreed. We also trained for about an hour. However, our training was a little more on the psychological side. I managed to transform in just under a minute now, as I started to get the hang of it. If I had another week or so, I may actually have been able to transform effortlessly. It felt like I was on the verge of something incredible, like I was getting close to discovering the switch to flick on and off my power. After our session had ended, it was around 10:30 in the morning. There was one last person I wanted to have a fight against, but it wasn't one of my classmates. Hey, Sue, I'm gonna go in early and do some training with my, trainer. We can hang out when I get back. I'll be not after this, I said to her as I got ready to go out, to which she agreed. I left, making my way to the League of Villains hideout, and knocked on the door. Spinner opened the slit again and demanded for a name and purpose. Damn it, Spinner, I'll teleport inside and smack you up the side of the head if you ask me that again. He unlocked the door and opened it for me to walk inside, closing it and locking it again when I stepped in. The League were all there, lounging around with nothing better to do. In fact, Toga was still asleep. Yo, Dabby, I started. What do you want? We didn't call you in, he replied. I want to fight you. Special training, I said bluntly, causing Toga to awake and the rest of the League to look at me. Are you sure you want to do that, Alakan? Shigaraki asked me uncertainly. Dabby smirked. You're no match for me. And if we did fight, I wouldn't hold back. I'd probably kill you, actually, since I don't like you. I narrowed my eyes at him. Remember how I almost killed you yesterday? If you don't volunteer to fight, I'll make you fight until you give up. He grit his teeth and stared at me with murderous intent. He was leaning against the wall, but pushed off to face against me. Outside. Now, he said. Mr. Compress tried to calm us down. We can't fight amongst ourselves, seriously. Besides, what if someone sees us? No one's around this area this time of day. Besides, the kid has a death wish. I'm just trying to be helpful, Darby replied, shoving Spinner out of the way to open the door, me following suit. No sooner were we 100 meters away from the building did he turn around and blast me with blue flames. I teleported back and started running towards him to the left. He tried to burn me again, so I teleported away again. He preemptively blasted flames towards where he thought I'd go, and surely enough I was still too predictable, so got burned slightly on my cheek. I went to close in the distance, whilst also covering more ground by running to the right of him. He scoffed and surrounded himself in flames to stop me being able to land an attack on him. Whilst doing all this though, I was trying to keep a clear mind so that I could transform, which was why I wasn't being too tricky with my maneuvers and getting caught slightly. The rest of the League watched on, partially in horror, as there wasn't really anything they could do to stop us. Mr. Compress could probably shrink us, but Dabby would most likely maim him if he did so. You're a close-quarters hero, I'm a medium-range villain. You can't block my attacks, and you can just barely dodge them. Keep it up and I will burn you alive, he warned, but I ignored him and kept running around. To him, it was obvious what I was doing, so he just kept the wall of flames up around to protect himself, knowing I'd be able to teleport around him if he directed his attacks anywhere else. What he didn't know was that I was beginning to master my transformation, and if I had incredibly thick skin, likelihood would be that I could throw a punch through the flames and take minimal damage. Being that I was a little stressed out over the fact that it was actually life or death this time, it took a little over a minute to transform. Through the fire, I could see Darby's eyes widen as my body grew bigger and green. He was about to make another move, but I threw a punch through the fire right at him, hitting him square in the chest and sending him flying backwards, rolling onto the floor a few times after he hit it. He groaned and got up, but I was already there, extending a hand to help him up. I passed the test I set for myself. I'm done, you're done too. Thanks for the help. Grunting and gritting his teeth, Darby smacked my hand away and got up by himself, scowling at me in disgust as he did so. I won't hold back next time. I shrugged. You don't need to. I figured out the perfect tactic now. Stall for time as I figure out how to transform and then beat the crap out of my target. I can evade almost any incoming attack now too. The League's discomfort was now directed towards me. Their intention was to recruit me to defeat the Six, but they hadn't really thought about what would happen if I was able to beat them too, with Darby being their strongest fighter besides Shigaraki himself. With that, I bid them farewell and left as Darby muttered various curses under his breath. I was feeling amazing about myself. However, that was about to change, as when I got home, Sue was waiting for me, her arms crossed and a very angry expression on her face. When I saw her, I immediately knew I was in trouble. She was holding a small box of chocolates and stared at me with a soul-piercing stare more frightening than any villain I'd encountered thus far. Hey, what's up? I asked the question, paralyzed with fear from the fury she was about to unleash on me. Where did you go? She asked. I told you, I was training, I affirmed. Really? You never told me where or who your trainer was, so I went to the computer and went through your search history. Want to know why? Because I wanted to drop in and give you a nice surprise, Carol. What I found surprised me instead. I managed to narrow down the possibilities to just one, and I looked up where they were located. They weren't far from here, and didn't stay open as late as you'd gone out last night. I gave you the benefit of the doubt and went down there myself, Carol. Want to know what else I found? She asked sarcastically. No, I squeaked. The receptionist said he never heard of you. That's pretty strange, isn't it? Now, you could say you found somewhere else on your phone, but your body language is telling me you did something you know you shouldn't. And what's that on your face, Carol? She asked, walking up to me and grabbing my cheek. I winced in pain as she examined my cheek, noticing the birthmark. She stood within inches of my face. Alex-chan. There's only a few people with a fire quirk that would have been able to train with you. None of the gyms or private trainers have fire quirks in this area. Endeavor is busy. Todoroki is in his room. Did you actually... She started, but couldn't bring herself to finish the sentence, feeling guilty for even suggesting it. However, the guilt was all dumped onto me as I looked down. He came to me 2 days ago, during the fireworks. I told him I would never join, but he didn't say I would. He just wants me to help them destroy the Six. Alex, you can't be serious. I know you're hurting, but the League? She said with a shaky voice, tearing up. She was utterly shocked beyond belief. I'm sorry, but please trust me. I'm not like them, but they're the only ones I can turn to, I said. Alex, you're an idiot. You have all of us here to turn to. She looked like she was about to have a breakdown herself. What do we have to do to prove that we care for you and to show you that we're here to help you? I decided to be completely honest with her. Because neither you nor any of the heroes will do what needs to be done to them. Cyberghost is a human too dangerous to be left alive. The others can be helped, but not him. She gasped softly and opened her mouth to speak before there was a knock on the door. It was Kirishima who spoke on the other side. Sorry to interrupt you guys, but you're going to want to see this, like, right now. He ran off back downstairs, and Sue shook her head slowly. We're not done here. We're going to have a very long talk, and we're going to set things straight. I'm not seeing the man I love become a villain. Completely submissive at this point, I just nodded and followed her as we walked out of the room and downstairs to see what the commotion was. Everyone was gathered around the large television, which had a breaking news article displaying about the Sinister Six currently attacking Hatsumane Base, and a large amount of top 10 heroes currently trying to defend it. I stared at the screen, and Sue looked at me, terrified at the sudden resolve in my eyes. She shook her head again, this time in a pleading manner. Please, don't do it, was all she said. I looked down at her sadly. I'm sorry. I love you. But I have to do it. She immediately teared up and started to cry, but I teleported away as far as I could and ran towards the base at my top speed. I saw it in the distance, a hole blown through the entrance, and the roster of heroes standing before the Six, plus the new villains. It was time to put an end to the evil once and for all. Damn it, Slit! Sue waved us